All right, so the time being 7:07 today, is February 11th, 2021. I'd like to bring the Abington Capital Planning Committee to order. The first item on our agenda is to discuss proposed 5-year capital plan and equipment. Right, and then, so, one moment. All right, so actually, first on our agenda, to discuss proposed 5-year capital project and equipment plan. And also we have with us DPW Director John Stone reviewing the DPW capital plan. I'd like to introduce John Stone. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Also with us is Kelly Johnson. She's our recreation director. So she'll be speaking on the addition to the camp house that she needs.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly, for joining us.
Thank you.
Did you all get a copy of the road rating list?
Road rating list.
Sue said she sent it to you. No? Okay.
Yeah, no, Sue, Scott, I don't think I got that.
John, do you have the ability to put it on the screen, John, if they share the screen, or are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have actually I'm gonna have Kelly help me do that real quick. If do you guys have anything else to talk about while I do that?
I do have, actually, I do. Let me see, hold on.
But it's gonna be you.
I have what Sue sent all of us with the DPW capital plan. Let me share the screen now.
I remember.
John, is this what you're referring to?
No, I just emailed the assessment out I replied all to your email because it said that the screen sharing was disabled. So I just emailed it to all of you.
All right, thank you. Let's see if I can get that on the screen. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody.
So you want me to just give a brief rundown of what it's all about? Well, you
Yes,
search for it?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, bottom line is we receive $390,000 a year, or approximately $390,000 a year from the state through Chapter 90, which is meant to use for road paving and repairs and doing roads over. $390,000 a year doesn't get us very far. It doesn't get us far at all. So basically, I think it's time we need to supplement Chapter 90 funding with some of our own money, because we just can't keep up with the roads. The road rating list will show you we've rated every road in town on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being best. And as it stands right now, we have 65 roads. 65 of our 221 roads have been given a grade of below a 5. So it's 35% of our roads. And we cannot keep up with it with just through Chapter 90 alone. So that was one topic I wanted to discuss tonight. we're gonna need to supplement chapter 90 or the conditions are gonna get worse.
Hey, John, I'm looking at this, it's Marty. Hey, what's happening?
Hey, Marty, how you doing, buddy?
I am well, sir. Thanks for asking, man.
Thank you.
I'm guessing that all of the roads that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that are received a below 5 rating.
Yes, sir.
What percentage of that is like 3 or below, if you don't mind me asking? Or did you not handle?
We just did it a couple weeks ago, Marty. We just performed the survey in-house. I didn't go, although it's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head how many are below a 3.
Do you know, was this a self-assessment or did you bring in like a planner or a road engineer to do this?
We did it ourselves through a program called PASER Asphalt Management out of the University of Wisconsin. We just basically copied what they do. It didn't cost us anything. We did it in-house totally.
What is the what do you think the estimated costs of each road, or is there a way to find that out?
It's very difficult to tell, Marty. Each road is its
Depends.
own animal. Some roads need to be a complete overhaul. Some just need an overlay, and some need a grind and pave. You know, for instance, I just want to give you an example. Lincoln Street. If you took Lincoln Street, I think we gave that a grade of
2.
2. Okay, we gave it a grade of 2. And that road is,
It is 1.1 miles long.
that would eat our whole year's worth of chapter 90 money, and we wouldn't be able to do any other roads.
You could spend over 350,000 on Lincoln Street alone.
That's correct, Marty.
Let me just ask the ratings. I don't have it in front of me. The ratings is 2 out of what? 2 out of 10 or 2 out of 5?
Steve, it's 1 through 10, with 10 being best.
Okay.
And we've given a grade of below a 5 on 30% of our roads.
Okay.
65 roads total are below a grade of 5. And if anyone took a ride down these roads, you'd understand exactly what we were talking about.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it is.
Yep, I just put it up, so let me know if you want me to scroll up or down on any of these.
Great job, Kelly.
So, John, Lincoln Street alone could eat your entire $350,000, $390,000 budget from the state.
It would be close, Marty. Yes, sir.
Wow.
And everyone has to remember that the last time a lot of these roads were paved was when SOAR went down the road. Like if you took like Presidential, it could use a repaving. The last time it was touched was probably 1992 when SOAR went down the road, or 1996 when SOAR went down the road. So a lot of our roads are like that. They haven't been touched since SOAR went down the roads.
John, it's Chris Coyle.
Chris, how you doing?
Good. How you doing? Picking Lincoln Street was, I mean, that's probably one I travel a ton based on where I live, and I will agree with you.
What would you give it on a grade of 1 to 10, Chris?
No, you're probably right about right with what that is. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
It was ironic you picked that road. I guess my question is: there a way to look at it in terms of most traveled, almost like a need based? You know what I mean? And that's maybe what Marty was trying to get at too. Like maybe not even if it's a road that's rated a 2, but the travel on it isn't. I mean, Lincoln Street's a pretty popular, like a drive for people to get from Hancock to 139.
Absolutely, Chris. I made a quick list of the streets would like to pave first. And Hancock from Chestnut to Patricia would be the first street we would pave. And then Plymouth from the Whitman line to Center Ave would be second. Third would be Birch Street, and fourth would be Lincoln. And then fifth and sixth would be 2 separate sections of Washington Street. All heavily traveled roads, all in dire need of repavement. We're not going to, through Chapter 90 alone, we're not going to be able to get all these done within probably 3 years, maybe 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
John, I'm looking at the capital plan that we submitted. Grind and pave Plymouth Street, the southeast. Is that the one you just mentioned?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's a good question.
And Rockland Street?
Rockland Street, yep. That's not one I just mentioned. That's one that would have to get to at some point. What I did was I originally had a couple streets on the capital plan for FY22, but I didn't know if the town wanted to go in the form of an article. That's what most towns do. East Bridgewater just supplemented their chapter 90 with an article for $350,000. About 3 weeks ago, they did that. Rockland does the same. Now, Rockland's roads are better than our roads because they are supplementing chapter 90. It's nobody's fault. It's just time we have to do it.
Can I ask one more question? I feel like I'm monopolizing the time. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I like it. I like it.
Other than chapter 90, is there any like grant funded opportunities for this kind of thing? Is that even in the realm of possibilities? Is there an outside entity that would help if we, I don't know, put a bike lane in or something?
No, Marty, there is no such thing. Like we're putting a bike lane in on Lincoln Boulevard and Glenowitz Way, but that doesn't fund paving.
Okay.
Complete Streets projects. It's a good question, but Complete Streets projects do not fund paving of roads. We look into every available grant. I think we have 4 in the works.
I had a feeling you did. I'm sorry. I had a feeling you did, but I just thought I'd throw it out there.
No, it's a good question, Marty. Really, it is.
Great question. Thank you, Marty. Does anyone have any further questions for either John or Kelly regarding the streets?
John, can we get a total from you of what do you think we'll call it the FY22 and then the FY23 totals that you would like a reasonable and then a wish list?
For just roads themselves, Marty?
Yeah.
I would like to see the town fund $350,000 a year for 5 years. That would catch us up. That would take the 2s, 3s, and 4s off of the list, or most of them anyway, and it would catch up. I know this might not be the ideal time with COVID and everything else, but it's something we have to start thinking about. Other towns do the same thing. You cannot fund you can't just strictly use chapter 90 to fund road paving projects. It doesn't work. We need to invest in our infrastructure. We have to. If 2022 might not be the year, but these problems aren't going away.
You're right.
Absolutely. Scott, did you have anything to say on that matter?
No, I fully agree with them and I support them 100%. I think it's just how we get from point A to point B is what we want to try and figure out. So do we want to do, like, John's ask of $300,000 a year? Do we want to dedicate, if we can't do that this year, do we want to do something and then dedicate it next year? Do we want to look at a much larger project and maybe borrow it and give them $1.5 million and go out to borrowing? I mean, I think there's all sorts of little options, but we definitely want to do something to get it started this year and to get it out to town meeting for everybody to know that this is something that we want to do and we're going to continue to do. And we're just trying to figure out exactly what our funding mechanism should be.
Right, awesome. Thank you, Scott. Oh, and before I do, I know I want to roll back a little bit. I did want to say that Joe couldn't make the meeting tonight. And also Richard Smith messaged me and he also spoke to Sue this afternoon. He is going to be resigning from this board. It's unfortunate to lose him, but other than that, and then we have a complete attendance. Sorry, I did not do that earlier in the meeting. My apologies.
And we could probably post something on the website that we're looking for volunteers or a volunteer.
Yes, absolutely. In the meantime, I'm more than happy to be taking notes and writing down our minutes for our meetings.
We never should have given him a job.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably why he was so eager to accept it.
Yeah, he said, yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Any further questions for John Stone regarding DPW? Marty,
You want to go down
Marty.
the rest of his
Did you want, yeah, did you want to go over the rest of the capital plan? Well,
Yeah.
Marty,
Yes,
do you-
absolutely. Marty's got a question.
No, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you, do we want to talk about the rest of the things on the list?
Yes, absolutely. Move it right along.
Okay, so number one, our number one wish list item, it shouldn't really be a wish list item. It's needed, a street sweeper. We have one street sweeper that's probably about 27 years old and another one that's 22 years old. We need to replace the one that's 27 years old. Jack got us a quote today for a new street sweeper. So our number on this capital plan is a little high. We could get a new one in the vicinity of 244,000.
Excellent.
As you may or may not know, we are under new guidelines and laws, stormwater laws, where we have to sweep every road in town at least twice a year now. And there's a lot of other best management practices we got to do with these new laws, but that's one of them. So one of the street sweepers we have, the dust mechanism no longer is operable, and the dust flies in the face of the operator, which isn't ideal because he's breathing in silica, and we don't want that. We're too good of a town for that. So that's number one on our list.
John, has there ever been any discussion of possibly sharing equipment with other towns on some of the stuff we don't use every day, like a street sweeper?
Yeah, we talked about it, Tim, but the street sweepers, both of them are out probably 10 weeks a year. And then it comes down to, and then other times when we're paving, we use it too. Not just to clean the roads, but to sweep after the paving company grinds the road. So we use them a lot more than a bucket truck per se. So I don't think it's an ideal circumstance to share a street sweeper with another town.
Is that, I mean, but even like things like a bucket truck, is that anything like other local communities do at all? Have you heard or?
I mean, we could look, it's not a bad idea for the bucket truck. We could look into that. I haven't looked into that, to be honest with you, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we found, if I can just jump in for a second, we shared we had a unique piece of equipment down in Duxbury that was like a weed eater. We stuck it in the pond. We shared that with,
Did you call her, honey?
I want to say Pembroke. And for the most part it worked, but other pieces of equipment, they kind of kick the idea around, and it becomes a problem when something breaks, or it becomes a problem when it's a liability issue, or it's a problem that, when you need it. Like John said, maybe a bucket truck might be someplace that you would consider it, but then all of a sudden, once you have a good bucket truck, I think it becomes more of something that he's going to use more often once he has it and it's reliable and it's a good piece of equipment. So lending it out to another town or sharing it with another town, as good as it might sound, doesn't always work as well as in practice.
That's a good point, Scott. There's one thing I'll say about a bucket truck. I don't think we need a new bucket truck. I think we could get away with a used one. Because we don't use it nearly as much as the sweeper. We use it for emergencies and to take falling limbs down and to do various other little things like that. We don't use it nearly as much as the street sweeper. So we might be able to get away with a used one, or as Tim alluded to, maybe share with another town.
You can store it up at the Strawberry Valley if you want to, John.
We will definitely do that. Thank you, Steve.
And teach them how to use it.
Yeah. I have a question. I'm sorry. I got myself confused, this isn't the order, John. I'm looking at 2022, and I didn't see the large money amounts for the streets, but you're saying you wanted 350 also in 2022.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I took them off because I didn't know if I thought maybe we would go in the form of an article
I see. Okay.
and not a capital plan, but it's up to Scott, whatever Scott wants to do. It's whatever the town can afford to give us,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Marty, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was muted and it wouldn't let me unmute. Hey,
Oh,
John, can I ask a question about the street sweeper? Go back to that.
Sure.
I know we will get fined for not street sweeping with compliance towards the stormwater, the stormwater management program. That's correct, yeah?
Correct, sir.
How much?
30.
Yeah, that's my next question.
they have the ability to fine us, not that they will, $37,500 a day for non-compliant
A day.
a day.
And they need the money too.
Clearly, they need the money too. Wow.
So be
That's a
careful.
good question though, Marty.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So for the bucket truck for the 2022 with the price, so we're looking at a lower, instead of getting a new bucket truck, what for a used one, as you're suggesting, what is the price lower we're looking at the cost?
Alex, I think that's a good question. I think the used one, we could find something in the range of $50,000. The one we have now is a safety hazard. The state won't certify it anymore because the controls at the bottom don't work, which you need if something happens to the guy in the bucket.
Exactly.
So we could use, I don't think we should get a new one. I think we should get a used one.
All right.
Hey, John, would it be a real pain to kind of like prioritize the list for you on a little? So
Yeah.
like the number one thing up besides the streets would be the street sweeper, right?
Correct.
Street sweeper. Then we're looking at the bucket truck, and then the Hunts Pond Dam and waste oil furnace.
No, Hunts Pond Dam, that's out. I don't know why that's on there. I didn't put that there.
Okay.
We're applying for a grant for that.
Although we need the match. Is that why that's on there, John?
Oh, that is why that's the 25% match.
But I think I would put that match in it. We put an article in for that either way. If you're going to
Yeah.
get that grant, we'll definitely want an article for that.
But I would definitely go in the order of street sweeper, then bucket truck, then pickup truck. And then, we need a new building, but the town can't do that right now. So we'd probably go with the waste oil furnace, and then the building study.
Great question, Marty. Thank you. And thank you, John.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any further discussion on that? On the DPW 5-year plan? Did anyone want any questions about 2023, 24, 25, or 26? I know it's a long way away, but that's what we're here for.
I have questions because I'm a little ignorant on these things here, but a study is going to cost for 65,000, or is that just a ballpark?
That's ballpark, Steve. I didn't, that's the number we're gonna use.
Okay.
We'll find an engineer to give us a study for $65,000.
And on the pickup truck, that's a nice pickup truck for 65,000.
It's a utility truck with a plow, a mini-mount setup, and lights, and a utility body.
You can also store that up the valley too, if you like.
We would for you, sir. And the waste oil furnace, we take used oil and heat the front garage with used oil, and it offsets the heating costs.
Any green community grants for that kind of thing?
I haven't found any, Marty. I
Is
haven't
that
found.
10? Is that 10,000?
Yes, sir.
I did want to ask if there was any possibility of, if there anything in the grants when it comes to 24 Beaverbrook Dam engineering study, or a little more information on that.
That shouldn't be there. I don't. Oh, the Beaverbrook. Oh, all right. I'm sorry. I got the wrong one. There's probably grants available for that, but first we're applying for a grant for the Hunts Pond Dam.
Okay.
Yeah, John, Alex, from time to time, we do find every year, different types of grants and different things open up. So, everybody's always looking. John's always looking, and our planner or the planning department's always looking to try and find grants for whatever we can. So, right now it's hard to say, but I would hope there would be something there for us in 24.
That's a good point. Yeah, we got a grant for that shared use path on Lincoln Boulevard. We're getting a state funded grant for the intersection of Chestnut and Hancock to put a roundabout there. We're
Is that
applying.
right?
Yeah, yes. It'll be similar to the one that's at North Quincy and Chestnut right now that they just built.
Yep, it's nice down there now.
It'll be similar to that. Yeah, it's really nice and it's safe. That's the main idea. It's safe. That's going to be a $3 million project funded by the state.
All right, any further discussion? Or
So again, I think Marty asked about prioritization, then we're gonna change this list around to match the prioritization.
I would like to do that if I could.
I don't know whether that's something, is this our list or is this?
That you don't have my list. I don't know where my list is. I'm looking at my list. I have a different list. It's the same items are on it, but
Yeah.
just in a different order.
Okay, so we should get your list.
I could forward you. Would you like me to forward you guys an updated, prioritized list?
that would be very helpful, yes.
We'll do that, Alex.
All right, thank you, John. I really appreciate it.
No
Make sure
problem.
Sue's on that.
Yep.
Yes.
And then there was one other item that we need as a department. It's actually Kelly's department. It is and she's gonna speak on this. It's the I don't know if you guys have it on this part of the capital plan, but it's the in addition to the Beaverbrook camp. Kelly, you're up.
Right, so our Beaverbrook program house that we use, it's the first building kind of to the left of the cabin. And when I would say about 5 years ago, the Eager Beaver program was under 100 kids. And as of last year, we were up towards 150. Or I'm sorry, not last year. We didn't have any programs last year. So 2 years ago, rather. So it was up towards 150. And at that point, it's just becoming a hazard having that many kids coming in and out of the building. We only have 2 bathrooms, no changing stalls. And if you guys went down there in the mornings or afternoons, it is just chaos anyway, but it's chaos because of this building. And there's nowhere to go if there's a storm coming. That's just a quick passing storm. We don't have anywhere to have them all gather safely. So we've had to cut off our program numbers. And I think that with the town growing so much, it's only going to get bigger and we just need the extra space for it. So I don't know if this is something that is a capital plan item or maybe could be partially funded by program fees and then supplemented with capital plan items, but just something that the Recreation Commission has talked about, and we think that it's within the next few years, it's definitely going to be something that becomes necessary if we want to continue growing the program to match the town's growth.
Kelly, I mean, I don't have a number in front of me. Is there a number associated with this right now?
So yeah, we did have Glenn LaPointe do just a quick estimate on it, and it was about 70,000. This building is a very basic structure. There's really not much to it. It's just the concrete slab walls. I think there's one window that they did. It would be repurposing one of the garage doors and just moving it down. So it's a very basic structure.
So this isn't a new building. It's just adding on to the existing building.
Correct. So this would be on the side with the garage doors.
Yep.
It would just be removing one side. There would be one tree removed, and then it would
I'm not unmuted.
kind of be pushed out. I think it was about 30 feet.
No, it's fine. 70,000. It's good.
Kelly, are they going to run into, did they think ahead to issues where that building may be grandfathered in for ADA or anything, and now by pulling a permit on it, we're going to have to redo a lot more than we thought?
That is not something that we have discussed too much at this point. For the most part, I mean, it is, I think if there is anything ADA compliance wise that we need to do, there wouldn't be much because we have ramps going into the building through the garage doors. There isn't any like door stops or anything that would prohibit any handicap access. So I don't know how much of a concern that is at this time, but it is something that would definitely have to look into more pulling permits.
This thing sometimes too, like some of the plumbing issues can be grandfathered in
Right.
that may need to be, sometimes it just gets to be a lot more expensive once you start breaking the ground on it
Yeah.
and realize. So I just want to make sure that we're thinking ahead to all of it, so we're not going over estimate.
Right. Well, the good thing about this is if it is funded completely by a capital plan item, we do have money from program fees to supplement as needed. So if we do run into something that
No.
we weren't expecting, we do have extra funds to use for that. It's just a matter of, do we want to use all of those funds to do this whole building? I don't know about that, but we do have supplementary income for it.
Right.
That's the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is probably a question more for Scott. And I feel like I should know the answer to this. Is this something that we could borrow for and then use the program fees to pay for?
We could, but it's not a very large ticket item to borrow for, but it could maybe be lumped in with something else. We could probably plan to borrow for it and look at what other things we're doing, but it's definitely something we would talk to Sonia about.
Because it would have a annual revenue that it could generate to offset
Okay with that.
that
Yeah.
cost. And for maintenance and for those. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's good.
This is Sonia here. Can I jump in for just a moment?
Yep.
Yes.
In terms of borrowing for it, you absolutely could. Like Scott said, if we lumped it in with other projects, I think Sue would need to weigh in on whether or not we would use program fees to help pay for the debt service on it, in terms of, where that money is currently going versus, how much buffer there is there in order to redirect those funds somewhere else. And if I am correct, I think we would need an appropriation to do that.
Okay.
So Kelly, in prioritizing capital needs, what would you put number one, and then
Is that a shot or will they take blood?
So a lot of this stuff I think can be combined with highway needs as well. So really for this year, my main focus was the building. But I know that like the P18 and pickup truck and all that stuff, I think could reasonably be combined with highway needs as well. So I don't know if John wants to weigh in more on that aspect of like the field machinery and things.
Kelly, can I ask one more question before we move on to that? If you don't
Yes.
mind, I'm sorry.
Yes.
How many program children? How many kids were at Eager Beaver in 2019?
So we have 4 sessions and we cut it off at 150, and I would say per session we were turning away anywhere from 10 to 25 kids, because
So it's, I mean, even without the extension, it's safe to say that there's a generated interest for around 170 kids 4 times for the summer for each
8
summer,
weeks.
right?
easily. Yep.
And that's without expanding it.
Right. So if we could expand, that's the only reason why we cut it off. So staff, everything else, we could expand as much as it could grow. I mean, reasonably outdoors and things, but
My kids have
we
been there
cut it off
many
just
years.
at 150 just because of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Great question, Marty. Thank you. Any further discussion? The prioritizing. So we actually,
Yes, Alex,
yes, John.
I think aside from Kelly's building extension, the other three items for 2022 would fall below any of the highway items.
Okay.
So I think going forward, it might be better just to combine highway and park aside from Kelly's recreation items.
Okay.
So they would fall below the paint machine, pickup truck, and front end loader would fall below street sweeper, bucket truck, and anything else on the highway capital plan.
Right. Thank you, John. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Let me get out of the stop sharing. All right. Any further discussion on that, on the DPW and Parks and Recreation capital plan review? All right, hearing none. All right, thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You as well.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cool. On to other business. We get into next on our agenda is review draft policies. I know we talked a little bit about this at our last meeting. We sent around the planning for our capital policy, excuse me. Did everyone get a chance to look at it? I know Scott and I have been going over now specifically for Abington. I am going to pull that up onto the screen.
Alex, do you mind if I just ask a quick, just in case, because I know I got to run. I wanted to get
Oh, yes,
this out there
yes.
before I had to go. Is there a way, so the Excel file is handy, but is it, I guess I took it as the way it was listed in the Excel file was the priority order of the need. Is it, I mean, Scott, I don't know if somebody could just redesign it. So at least for the 2022 section, could we get it in some kind of priority order? It just makes it
Yeah,
easier
well-
when looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll ask the department head what they're, just the way you just did, and we'll put it back out there and say, hey, everybody give us a priority, number on these, what's, 1 through whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, they'll come on here and tell us anyway, but if we have an idea going into it, so.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Excellent point. Thank you. Awesome. So we get the. So yeah, let's go. So any discussion on the draft policies? Did anyone have a chance to look over our proposed policies for our capital planning committee?
This is Steve. I did not, I'm okay this year with just getting the names changed to Abington and moving forward, giving us some time between this year and next year, refining them if need be. I mean, personally, I'd like to get a hard copy of them because I like to make notes, and I haven't done that.
I think I sent one out to everybody.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I sent it out. It's basically what I sent out is a complete package that I'll be sharing, with the selectmen, with this committee, and with the finance committee. And currently, Sue and Sonia and myself, we're reviewing other parts of it, but you'll see, there's several sections. It's alphabetized, but section D is the
Oh, I
part.
did open that, yeah.
Right, that's what refers to the capital planning committee. So really, that's all I need, or I would recommend that you guys look at for now. But you should look at the overall policy too, because if you read the whole policy, it helps give us direction and gives the town direction. In sort of a more comprehensive view of what we're doing with our money. there are policies in place now. I think that they're maybe from 2012 or something like that. So, it's not like we're without policies or that nobody's ever done it. It's just that it's time to upgrade them, update them. And that's all this is. But I did already go through with what I sent out to everybody. References Abington, the Capital Planning Committee as a whole. I think the last one was fiscal advisory. And then it changed everything else in your section, capital section. The most part is Sonia, myself, and Sue are going over some of the other sections where we get into debt management and, how much a percentage of budget goes towards different things and different items that we pay off or whatever. So
Scott, I just had I was looking through section D really quick in number 7. If you go down a little bit, Alex, then I got to run.
D7.
Yeah, it was D7. So I guess it's more so I know this is, I don't know if this will be happening this year, but so what would my role be in a meeting like that? Because obviously when I'm on a school committee, my focus is to push for anything with the school. Do you know what it like? So
Yeah, I think by that point though, we've come to consensus when this meeting happens. I think if it does happen, and it doesn't have to happen, again, we pulled it out of another town, and if it doesn't work, it's not one size fits all necessarily. But I think in that position at that point, 45 days prior to town meeting, we've got something fairly well locked in, and it's really more just a discussion point and that everybody's on board because, at some point we're presenting a budget to the finance committee and they're finishing it up. And at some point, I'm showing it to the selectmen, and this is sort of an opportunity in this one where it's almost the finished item at that point. It's pretty much there. And we're all just gonna, show that we all understand it. We're all in consensus and it's where we want to be. So I don't think there's a role as far as, I don't think at that point there wouldn't be any voting. It wouldn't be really anything like that.
Guys, just I don't know. I know Alex knows I have to run to my son to basketball, so I'm gonna drop. But I'll keep an eye on my email for anything that's needed after this.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
So Scott, question: would it be appropriate for our committee to vote on approval of this draft policy, or would there need to be some additional changes that you would see?
No, I think unless you guys saw something that you didn't like, I think you would vote to approve that you approve of section D as written. But again, this is something that at the end of the day, the selectmen will be the ones to approve the whole policy. Okay. But I think because you're referred to and you're the capital planning committee, I think when I go to the selectmen and say, I want you guys to approve and vote this whole policy, I want to be able to say, and the capital planning committee has reviewed their section and have approved it, that, that Sue, Sonia and I are in agreement with some of the other sections that the finance committee has looked and they're in agreement. So everybody's in agreement when the selectmen get this, and it makes it a lot easier.
I entirely agree. So is there any discussion or even hearing a motion to approve section D of the capital planning committee, to send our approval to the Board of Selectmen?
I'll make that motion, Alex.
All right. Tim makes the motion.
I will second that motion.
Marty makes the second. Any further discussion on that? All right. All in favor? Excellent. Unanimous? Excellent. Right. So the Capital Planning Committee of Abington approves this draft policy. Right. Next on our agenda is prioritize needs based on okay, so in this expedience and available free cash or borrowing ability. Actually, let me get out of hearing. I am now going to turn meeting over to Scott and Sue for available free cash and borrowing.
Sue, are you back on there? There you go.
I am here. So our free cash hasn't been certified yet. It's gonna look like it's in the positive, but there's not a lot of free cash due to the lack of revenues that we had at the end of the year. So I would say that if you were gonna make any judgments on the capital request, you would have to look at borrowing for the things that are on there or putting them off until the next year.
All right. Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, so I think it's still important that, you know, we go through this and prioritize things, but yeah, I mean, the sad news at the end of the day may be, you know, that ultimately, unless it's something that's dire that we really need to do it, we either are gonna have to borrow for it, you know, or we're, you know, the only other avenue would be, you know, a stabilization fund or something, but, you know, going to town meeting for that. We have other issues that, you know, I think correct me if I'm wrong with this number, but the revenue shortfall is in, you know, over $600,000. So that's where the big problem is. And it was to be, you know, as expected. I think we kind of walked into this, or, you know, we kind of knew something wasn't gonna jive at the end. So that's why, you know, also we put a lot of money into stabilization last year at town meeting to try and be careful to squirrel stuff away and just in case something like this came up. But again, we got to go through this, go through everything, prioritize it, and it might just move it might move a lot of stuff into next year.
Well, personally, I'm happy to know. I kind of wish I'd heard from Sue first, knowing that we didn't have any money, because I was thinking everything John was saying, you know, that's going to be nice. But at this point, if we had talked to 6 people before this learning, we didn't have any money, would have been kind of crazy. So it sounds like, you know, again, I'm repeating what you just said, Sue, for my own sake here, but would have to borrow to do anything we hear from capital planning.
Yeah, pretty much that's where we're going.
Okay.
Unless
Well,
you're
and two-
unless you're an enterprise fund. Tanya, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and two, don't forget that even if we borrow, it's still coming out of the operating budget. We still have to pay for that debt service every year
Right.
out of our normal general fund budget. So, you know, borrowing isn't as, you know, it's not free money. We're paying for it.
Yeah,
And for
understood.
every bond issue, we pay quite a bit of money in order just to issue the bonds. So it's not something we want to do every year. What I typically do is I would do short-term borrowings until I have a large amount. And then I would do a bond issue in order to make it worth it. You know, we pay thousands and thousands of dollars to issue bonds. So we definitely want to wait until we have a good amount. So, you know, if we decide to do some borrowings for some smaller projects, we could do short term for a couple of years until we have a large amount. I know the fire station is a possibility. So it's, you know, things like that to think about. You know, large projects like the fire station, we'd be thinking about asking for a debt exclusion. You know, trying to do a $30 million project on our general fund would be extremely difficult, as Sue could tell you. So we would definitely need a debt exclusion for something like that. But these smaller projects, they're coming out of our general fund budget. So that's something that we have to consider as well when we're deciding how much we're going to borrow for, which we just put quite a few out. We're doing a bond issue right now for quite a few projects. So we're already getting a good amount of projects being funded through borrowing right now as it is.
Sonia, what would those projects be then? If are they old capital plan items? Or?
Well, we're borrowing for a couple things that were approved a couple years ago. So the new ambulance and the new fire engine. Those are a couple things that we're borrowing for. But then the items that were approved at the fall and the spring town meetings. So the Central Street Bridge for DPW, as well as siding for the police station,
rehab for 3 of the fire engines so that we don't have to buy new ones.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, so
I'd
they're
forgotten
not
that we
huge
approved all those,
projects,
yeah.
but yeah, they add up.
So, so with that said, South Shore VoteTech also asked us to put a warrant article on for $18 million for upgrades to the South Shore VoteTech. And Sonia did a debt schedule for us, which was great. And then I talked to them about what Abington's share would be, which is 16.89% of whatever they would borrow for. And they're saying that they're not going to borrow for it like all up front. But if, say they did, then the town of Abington is on the hook for $240,000 for the first year and downgrading, but it's like goes 240, 230, 220. So be aware that that is going to be a warrant article that they're requesting, and that's going to put $240,000 on the town of Abington in our debt services, or having to pay them because they're going out for debt, and
Right.
we're going
right.
to have to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Tom, was his name Tom Hickey, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it seems that they're not planning to do anything right away, except the roof was, I think, in their initial plan, and they wouldn't borrow for that till fiscal year 23.
Right.
But like Sue said, that it is coming. Something's coming. They're not asking to borrow 18 million to not do stuff.
Right.
So.
And I spoke to him about that last week, and basically said, like, if you're really gonna go for this thing, this new building with everybody paying for it, is it really worth putting the roof on?
Interesting point. Yeah.
But it's the same thing with it's the exact same thing with the fire engine and stuff like that. Like, it's probably not gonna happen for
Right.
years.
It's the windows
Like,
at the high school.
yeah. Yeah.
And I also asked them about MSBA project and whether they applied to that, and they have in the past, but they haven't gotten approved. So if they got MSBA funding, it would be less than that for us. But until we know that, that warrant article is going to be on this town meeting warrant. And so we have to expect that if we approve it, we're looking at another $240,000 for the town of Abington to pay South Shore VoteTech, which is part of our expenditures, which we have to come up with revenues for.
It'd be part of our assessment, and
Right.
and they, and again, I got a call from the finance committee in Whitman already. They're up in arms, so it's got to pass every town.
Right, but they're the smallest portion.
Yeah,
So
that's
like
good selling to do.
Abington's the largest portion. So if everybody else passes it because they're like, oh, okay, it's not a big deal. It's only $50,000 for us, or it's only $20,000 for us. Abington is the biggest contributor to that assessment.
Is that because we have the most students going there?
That's correct.
Which is about how many? Do we have
I
any?
can't answer that,
You don't need to.
but we are the largest community that contributes to our debt.
Okay. So far, this committee's been kind of depressing.
Any further discussion on available free cash or borrowing ability?
Yeah.
Or I have to ask. All right, hearing none, on to the next agenda items. Old business, meeting minutes, and set next meeting schedule. Any discussion on that? Meeting minutes, Sue, I'll touch base with you on the last meeting's minutes and stuff. I did mention a little earlier that Rich, he was our secretary, resigned today. So I'll be taking minutes for this meeting. But for our set next meeting schedule, any discussion on when we want to meet again?
2022, maybe?
You know, are we gonna have others come to us and then give
Yeah.
their up?
Yeah.
Who's next on your list? I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but yeah, Sue and I will reach out and see if,
Yeah. So next Thursday, if we can get 1 or 2 people to come, or 3 or 4.
Yeah, many as we can. I'm in agreement with next Thursday if everyone else is all set with that.
And
That's fine with me.
I will touch base with the department heads to see, based on the capital plan, who is gonna be presenting for you guys next. And I know John did, multiple departments, so most departments don't have Park and Rec and DPW and sewer and all that, so, and streets, so we'll probably be able to get a few extra departments in there next week.
maybe we can get police and fire.
Yeah.
They might as well hear the bad news too.
Good to me. So our next scheduled meeting, Scott, will we need to vote on that, or is that
No,
just,
that's fine. You
All
just
right.
set the schedule. You don't need to vote on it.
all right, excellent. So our next meeting, let me just say it out loud. So our next capital planning committee meeting will be next Thursday, February 18th, same time, 7 p.m. Excellent, right? That being the last agenda item, excuse me, I'll hear any motions for us to adjourn. All right, Steve's makes the motion.
I'm on
Marty
mute.
seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And this concludes the Capital Planning Committee of February 11th. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Right.
all. Good night, guys.